So on April 15th, 2026, an old software plumber fixed a tiny, incredibly boring coding error. But, and this is the wild part, if you clicked away from that code and looked at the margins of his website, you'd fall into a 15-year, 700 post a year rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah. It completely changes how you look at the internet.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking this blog post published on a site called kianamen.org, and the post itself has a title that, probably makes you want to immediately look away. It's called Notes on Haskell Programming Part 109, Type Safe Header Parsing.
Which, that sounds like the kind of document you only open if you were actively being paid to fix a server issue at like 2 in the morning.
Exactly.
Usually technical documentation is just this isolated, sterile transaction. You go in, you grab the syntax you need, and you leave. You don't linger to find out what the author thinks about, hydroponics.
Right, but that's the trap here. If you only look at the code, you completely miss the person writing it. So the mission for us today is to explore the mind, the relentless output, and really the deeply unconventional worldview of the author behind this post.
Yeah, a self-described old software plumber who goes by Ang.
Right. And we are going to reconstruct his entire philosophy just by looking at this one web page.
But I think before we can understand Ang's broader world, we really have to look at the specific problem he was solving on that Tuesday in April.
Right, the Haskell thing.
Yeah. So he was working in Haskell, which is a highly structured functional programming language, and he was trying to build a document parser.
Okay.
When you parse a document, you're basically writing a script that reads through raw text
Yeah.
and automatically generates a structured table of contents.
Which, that seems straightforward, right? Until you realize that human writing is just incredibly inconsistent.
Oh, absolutely messy.
Like, Aang was running into this issue with hierarchy. Some documents are broken down into big sections called volumes, which then contain chapters. But other documents, they skip volumes entirely and just start right at chapter 1.
And, a computer needs a rigid rule for that hierarchy. If a volume exists, the volume is the top of the tree. It's level 1, and chapters are level 2.
Makes sense.
Right. So Aang needed his script to say, well, if there is no volume in this document, promote the chapter headers up to level 1 so the tree doesn't have a missing root.
Oh, I see.
And his old way of doing this relied on something called string matching.
Which is essentially just looking at the raw letters, right? Like the code scans the text string, hoping to find the exact sequence of letters, VOLUME.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Aang realized this was fundamentally fragile.
Yeah.
Because text is messy. What happens if the author misspelled volume?
Right, or what if it's formatted in all lowercase?
Or has some weird invisible space character next to it?
Mm.
When a system relies on a dumb collection of characters, it just breaks the moment reality deviates from the expected pattern.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why this matters, think of it like looking for a specific genre in a massive bookstore.
Okay, I like this.
If you use string matching, you are basically picking up every single book and reading the summary on the back cover, just hoping to find a clue that it's a science fiction novel.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds exhausting.
Right. You're scanning raw, ambiguous text. The alternative is just walking down the aisle and looking for the bright yellow sci-fi sticker that the staff slapped on the spine.
Exactly. You aren't reading text anymore. You're looking at a designated category.
So what was his solution?
Well, Aang's new solution was essentially printing out those yellow stickers.
Hmm.
During the initial parsing phase, instead of just reading the text, he tags the headers. He changes the fundamental type of the data in the system.
Okay.
Then, when his script needs to build the table of contents, it uses pattern matching on the type itself, not the raw letters. And Aang notes that this refactor makes the code type safe.
Meaning it's more reliable.
Yeah, it's shorter, cleaner, and the structural integrity is basically guaranteed by the rules of the language itself.
So he's taking this messy, ambiguous reality and categorizing it into a reliable, tagged structure.
Yes.
And the moment you look away from the main text of this Haskell post and you just glance over at the sidebar of his website, you realize that this urge to categorize isn't just about his code.
No, not at all.
It bleeds into literally everything he does.
The projects list in the sidebar completely subverts every stereotype of, the narrow-minded coder trapped in a basement. It reads like the curriculum of a digital Renaissance plumber.
It really does, because he isn't just writing Haskell Programming Part 109. Sitting right next to it in the sidebar, he is concurrently tracking Gardening Part 867.
Oh, and Fish Keeping Part 233.
Right, he's meticulously logging Part 111.
The sheer volume is intense, but, the specificity of his logs from just the first half of April 2026 is what paints the real picture here.
Yeah, tell me about that.
In the exact same 2-week window where he is figuring out type-safe headers for his parser, he is bouncing between completely disparate physical worlds. He's writing these highly detailed logs about propagating blue and firecracker plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's exploring the pH levels of hydroponic systems and, like, noting the growth rates of Brazilian spinach.
I was tossing in notes on the science behind heart rates during exercise, too. Plus, tweaking electric guitars, doing macro photography. I mean, how does a person even context switch that rapidly?
Like a lot.
Going from the highly abstract, invisible logic of functional programming to the wet, messy reality of fish tank biological loads, those use entirely different parts of the brain. That sounds like massive cognitive whiplash.
Well, on the surface, yes. Pushing code to a server and planting seeds in dirt feel like opposite activities. But look at how Ang approaches them.
Okay.
He documents the biological load of his fish tank, like how much waste his specific species of apistogramma fish produce, and how the filtration system processes that waste into nitrates. That is just an environment with inputs, outputs, variables, and feedback loops.
Oh. Oh, I see. He's treating the fish tank like a software program.
Exactly. He is treating nature with the exact same meticulous observation and iterative problem solving that he applies to his open source software.
That is fascinating.
When he designs a physical cave for his apistogramma to breed in, he's looking for a type-safe solution for his aquarium. He's trying to remove the fragile guesswork.
The string matching of throwing some rocks in a tank and just hoping for the best.
Exactly. He replaces it with reliable, structured environmental design. Because a garden has dependencies, just like a piece of software does.
Man, that reframes his entire output. It's all systems engineering, whether he's debugging an Elixir script or, figuring out why a firecracker plant is wilting. He is running diagnostics.
Yeah.
But knowing that he views the world as a series of interconnected systems is really only half the picture. The true scale of this project becomes clear when you scroll down to the Everything Else archive list.
Oh, the archive data.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is where this transforms from a quirky hobby blog into this monument of dedication. If we trace qianmeng.org back to its inception in 2011, Ang started off like a completely normal hobbyist.
Right.
He published 26 posts that first year, just a couple of updates a month. In 2012, he only did 20 posts.
But then you see him start to refine his personal system. He hits 146 posts in 2013. By 2020, he's up to 366 posts.
And then we hit the machine-like consistency of the modern era. Let me give you these numbers.
Yeah, please.
In 2022, he published exactly 730 posts.
Okay, wow.
In 2023, 730 posts. In 2024, which was a leap year, he hit exactly 732 posts.
Wait, really?
Yeah. And in 2025, 730 posts.
The math on that is just, it leaves no room for interpretation. He is publishing exactly 2 posts a day, every single day, for 4 consecutive years.
No days off. No vacations from the routine, weekends, holidays, times of personal stress or illness. The output remains perfectly constant.
And his pace is actually accelerating. I mean, in this snapshot from April 2026, he has 45 posts in just the first 15 days of the month. He's averaging 3 posts a day.
It's wild.
Think about how hard it is to maintain any daily habit. Like, we all struggle to drink enough water or, read 10 pages of a book before bed.
Oh, totally.
But Ang is writing, formatting, and publishing multiple highly detailed technical and hobbyist logs daily, without fail.
Which forces us to ask the most important question about any human behavior at this scale. Why?
Right.
In the modern internet landscape, anyone producing content at that volume is usually running a media empire. They're playing the algorithmic game, trying to maximize engagement, capture emails, maybe sell a course.
But qianmeng.org has none of those markers. There are no pop-ups asking for your email.
Exactly. What Ang is doing is a form of radical public journaling. He categorizes this in his project list as a now-page lifestyle.
A now page.
Yeah. Ang page is a concept where, instead of an About Me page that summarizes who you were 5 years ago, you maintain a living document of what you are focused on right now.
Oh, that's cool.
And Ang has stretched this concept to its absolute limit. He is creating a perfectly parsed, type-safe archive of his own brain's evolution in real time.
So every problem he encounters, he documents the input, the process, and the output. But, I mean, hosting 730 articles a year, complete with macro photography and code snippets, that takes a significant amount of server space.
Yeah.
And time.
Yeah, it does.
You would assume there would be banner ads plastered everywhere just to keep the lights on, yet the site is completely clean. The About and Do Support sections explain exactly why he operates this way, and it's a massive contrast to the algorithmic web we're used to.
Right. Enging explicitly identifies as someone who spends the night tinkering with free Libra and open source software, or FLAS.
Okay.
And this isn't just a coding preference. It's a deeply held ethical stance about how information should flow.
Yeah, if you look at his Do Support list, it essentially serves as a required reading list for understanding his worldview. He champions the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Free Software Foundation,
The Software Freedom Conservancy.
the Tor Project, and Wikipedia.
Those organizations are the foundational pillars of the open web. They're dedicated to keeping the internet decentralized, keeping software free from corporate enclosures, and, protecting user privacy and knowledge sharing.
So by aligning himself with them, Ang is signaling that his website operates entirely outside the standard tech industry extraction model.
Exactly.
And he enforces this with a very strict, almost blunt disclaimer on the site. He states that the opinions are his own, he cannot guarantee accuracy, and he accepts zero liability. He isn't trying to be an infallible guru.
Right.
And instead of monetizing your attention with ads, he simply lists links for optional sponsorships via GitHub, PyPI, or Spotify. This entire project feels like a pristine, surviving manifestation of the early independent web.
It really is.
It is a pure, unmonetized digital garden.
And, the term digital garden is incredibly fitting, especially considering his literal gardening logs. In the open source software community, the fundamental belief is that code improves when it is shared without friction.
When anyone can read it, fork it, and modify it.
Yes, exactly. Ang has simply taken that software philosophy and applied it to his entire lived experience.
His life is the source code.
Precisely. His knowledge of setting up an Elixir server, his meticulous logs on breeding bet hay, his notes on meditation, it is all pushed to the public repository of the interweb.
Wow.
He's allowing anyone to fork his knowledge. If you want to grow Brazilian spinach, you can read his logs, see exactly where he failed, and avoid those mistakes in your own garden.
Right. Or take his type-safe Haskell parser and drop it directly into your own project. It is an act of profound digital citizenship. It's amazing. We started this deep dive looking at a microscopic technical fix. An obscure programmer moving from messy string matching to clean pattern matching so a table of contents would format correctly.
Yeah, a tiny detail.
But by refusing to ignore the margins of that one web page, we uncovered a 15-year monument to human curiosity. We found a mind that views the entire universe, from lines of code to the biological load of an aquarium, as a fascinating system worth observing, understanding, and meticulously documenting.
And, the underlying value of Ang's archive isn't really about the specific topics. You don't need to learn Haskell, and you certainly don't need to worry about the pH levels of a hydroponic setup if you don't want to.
Definitely not.
What Ang's extreme consistency demonstrates is the immense power of documenting your learning journey. When you write down what you learned, step by step, day by day, you're not just providing a resource for a stranger on the internet.
Right.
You're clarifying your own thoughts. You're creating a structured, type-safe framework for your own mind, turning the chaotic guesswork of daily life into something you can actually navigate.
It's proof that paying close attention to your own life is a worthwhile project in itself. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, inspired by the sheer scale of Ang's archive.
Oh, this is a good one.
If you were to sit down right now and commit to writing just 2 short notes a day about your own life, your current interests, and your mundane daily problem-solving, what obscure, wildly specific topic would you be on part 867 of 15 years from now?